How's it going, guys? It's MexiGary here. I'm just sitting on my couch. I'm actually watching something kind of weird right now. I used to play Super Nintendo when I was a kid, like non-fucking stop, well before I was even into music, you know. I was probably like between the ages of like 6 and 12, and I would play Super Nintendo constantly, mostly like Mario and stuff like that. And my pal had a Mega Drive, and I sometimes think that, like, because the music was so good in the games, Donkey Kong, Mario, Sonic the Hedgehog. But anyway, the music that I'm watching right now is I'm watching the guy, what's his name again? Something Wise, is it Simon Wise? He wrote all the music for Donkey Kong Country, and maybe even Donkey Kong Country 2. And some of the old music of these games, man, you know, if you were of the time, or even if you're not, like if you are new to these old 16-bit games and you go back and you play them, it's kind of incredible how catchy and good just the music is, you know, regardless of the game itself anyway. So I even thought about dabbling in writing, you know, trying to get into writing and producing computer games music, which is probably much more difficult than it sounds. Because to me, like being a recording, I'm not a recording artist, you know, but I'm a songwriter and I put out albums now and again, and it just seems like to do that, like instrumentals are always way easier, you know, than doing anything with vocals. Maybe because I've got the voice of Rod Stewart going face first through a meat grinder, like Liam Gallagher, you know, at a Strepsils convention or something. So what I'm trying to say is the vocals are always the hardest part for me. Writing the melodies, I don't mind. That's one of my favourite bits. But when it comes to like recording the vocals, it's always but I think most singers feel like that, because that's the bit that everybody listens to. Or that's the bit that most, you know, music consumers focus on, is the lyrics and the melody. You know what I mean? I guess that's probably why there's not many guitar solos in popular music anymore. You know, people just want the top line music and lyrics. Unless you dig a little deeper, if you are a guitar player or if you are a musician, then, you know, you listen to stuff like I'm really into Kotzen, and one of the reasons why I love country music is it's got both, or it did have, when I was listening to, like, you know, Brad Paisley, Jerry Reed, Keith Urban, even some Shania Twain stuff had some like really brilliant guitar playing in it. But nowadays, you know, I love the songwriting still. I love the songwriting by guys like Morgan Wallen. Post Malone's new album's incredible. I mean, I know he didn't write it himself, you know, but it's still the song. And the thing is, like, looking back through country music over the years, like Brad Paisley, even, who was the first guy that I got into in, like, 2004 or something like that, 2003, and his album Mud on the Tires came out around that time. And I was just like, these songs are incredible. Like, the stories involved in the songs are amazing. Like, every song's about something. You know, I mean, I love Nirvana and I love Oasis and stuff like that, but you couldn't really say that the songs are a story. You know, it's just like emotive sentences based on whatever the person's feeling. There's a lot of metaphors, you know, but I don't think country music does that. Like, there's a great song by Tim, what's his name? Tim, and he did it with Taylor Swift. Oh, God, I can't remember the second name, I'm sorry. He's the guy who always wears a cowboy hat. And it's called The Highway Don't Care. And that is such a beautiful song. Like, it's about, I think he's talking about, he's either talking about his daughter or his wife or girlfriend or something. He's like, don't, like, play with your phone while you're driving, because the highway don't care if you're alive, and the highway don't care if you're coming home. But I do. And I just love the concept of that. It's such a, like, country writers just always seem to come up with such a unique concepts of, like, even that new one, you know, I Had Some Help with Post Malone and Morgan Wallen. And don't get at me and saying, like, Post Malone's not really a country act. Well, he is at the moment, all right? And I just love the writing in it, because I had some help. Like, this relationship didn't fall apart, you know, on my own. You know, I didn't make that happen myself. I had some help. Don't you think? Don't act like you and help me pull that bottle off the shelf. You know, it's just got a good hook and a good, not just a melodic hook, but a lyrical hook. Like it's saying something. And there's a few other ones in that album that have got the same thing. Like I loved. Let me just get into this, man, because I really want to make sure I'm talking about the songs that I want to talk about here. Post Malone, the album's called F1 Trillion, and I don't need to. I'm not pulling this up because, like, Post Malone doesn't need any help from this shitty little podcast. You know, I'm just talking about. Oh, it's called What Don't Belong to Me, and he's saying things like, "I gave half of my heart to that rock star living." I'm gonna have to Google the lyrics. What don't belong to me? Song by Post Malone. Here we go. Right. Yeah, because I gave half to them halfway lovers. I left some to them 2 drunk summers. Left a piece at the bar with the keys to my car. I know it, I'm never getting it back. I lost a lot to that whiskey sipping. I give the rest to that rock star living. Take all of me, but there's one thing missing. I can't give you what don't belong to me. Oh, it kills me. I love it. Like, and a lot of that stuff, like John Mayer's got a few ones like that, like Half of My Heart. Half of my heart's got a grip on the situation. Half of my heart don't care or takes time. And it's just about how, like, he can only give half of his heart to somebody because he's so involved in the music and what he's doing. And it's like, I can really relate to that, man. But that's why I love country music, you know. And not only that, but the like I said, the guitar playing is usually, you know, absolutely incredible. And I got, you know, I tend to spend, you know, if I can afford it and if I've got the time off, I'll go to Nashville. Right, that's my favourite city outside of Scotland. Is Nashville, Tennessee, because it doesn't matter where you go. Like, even, I mean, it's changed a lot in the last few times that I've been there, because when I first went there in like 2015, it was all like country music. It was all like really fast chicken pickers, and they were all playing mostly playing country music. And not only that, but they were playing all the hits because they play for tips over there as well, you know. They'll get paid a certain amount from the bar, but like I think they supplement their income. And it's much more of like tipping culture is such a bigger deal in the States than it is anywhere in Europe, or at least in the UK. You know, bands here don't put out a tip jar. And I don't know why. It's not even the norm. It's not even a given thing to tip your bar staff, you know, in Scotland. Or I think in the whole of the UK, you know, they get paid. I guess that's because they're getting paid a decent wage, or, you know, they might not say that, but compared to what I've heard about, you know, bar staff in the States or hospitality staff in general, the reason that their hospitality and their attitude to it is so like, yes sir, no sir, 3 bags, you know, what can I do for you? And, you know, are you okay? And have a nice day and all that kind of thing. That's because they need to supplement their income with tips, whereas I think in the UK the basic living wage is a lot higher, or at least a little bit higher. So, you know, I've not done it for a while. I'm touch wood, you know. I've been self-employed for over 15 years now. So, about 15 years. So it's been, yeah. I mean, if you asked me over 15 years ago what the living wage was, it was the basic minimum wage is what I mean. I think when I was working in a call centre or working for Domino's Pizza, delivering pizzas and that, or at Subway sandwiches, or selling phones, you know, when I was selling phones, that was all commission. You get 15 quid a sale. So you really had to sell four mobile phones a day in order to, you know, make it worth your while leaving the house. And even that was only 60 quid, you know, and then so I got the call centre job, and that was probably, I think after tax and NI and I was working through an employment agency, so they took a cut as well. So you're talking like £6.50 an hour, £6 an hour maybe. And I'd imagine it's probably about 11 or 12 now. But anyway, I was going to talk about, I've got so much other stuff to talk about today, man, but let me just check out my... Right, so the rundown of last week's gigs. And recordings. Yes, I meant to tell you, we're in the recording studio this week on Wednesday and Thursday doing some... we're doing some covers, but we were only doing like a minute of 5 songs. So the songs were... it's for Three Card Trick, the wedding band, and we're doing a new video tomorrow night, Wednesday night that is, at a place called Harborne Farm. Great venue, absolutely beautiful venue, big barn, massive stage. I don't know if we'll be using the stage actually, but because they've got various areas in the main room that are just got a nice backdrop. So yeah, we're in the studio this week doing the audio for it with a guy called Roddy McElwraith, who I know from. I think the first time I worked with Roddy was Rocket Fox. You guys, some of you guys might remember my old band Rocket Fox with Fiona, and we did some recordings with him. Oh, actually, this was after Fiona, so it was Grimbo on the bass, and we did a few tunes with him then. And he's very intense. You know, it's a really in a nice way. He's not intense. He's just very articulate, and his attention to detail is incredible. Like, I'll be playing away and he'll be like on his knees, like changing the tone on my guitar as I'm playing a solo to make it absolutely slot into the mix, or like he plans in advance what the mix is going to sound like with regards to like the rhythm guitars and the solo guitars and that. So he does that while I'm playing, and I've never seen a producer do that before. He's brilliant. So the songs that we did were Born to Be Wild by Steppenwolf, Azizi Top Medley with Give Me All Your Lovin' and Sharp Breath Man, Superstition, and Caledonia. And then at the last minute we swapped out Buck Rogers for I Had Some Help by Post Malone, and I think that one sounds the best actually. I mean, it's gonna, because I love country music, so I got to use my new Squire Paranormal Telecaster Deluxe, you know, with the humbuckers, but the split, so it actually sounds more like an old school Telecaster than even my Telecaster does. I've got a 2012 beautiful wine red, like translucent finish. Standard Telecaster with Lindy Fralin pickups, but the thing is, I got the wrong Lindy Fralin. I think I got the modern player ones, which are quite high output, so I can't really get the old school twang. I thought that I was buying the ones that Brad Paisley uses, but clearly he uses more like the vintage ones, and then just boosts it with his own like Wampler, Brad Paisley Wampler, like Tube Screamer style distortion pedal. So maybe I need to revisit that guitar because it's buzzing a little bit as well. I think there might be an earthing issue. And it still plays great. But, you know, this new Squire Telly that I've got, which I've showed you in a couple of videos, if you go back through, you know, my feed, you'll see it's black, piano black, with gold hardware and the white scratch plate. It's fucking beautiful. So I got to use that. And I was using my 339 that I bought last year, a Gibson 339, like a Chuck Berry looking thing, without the whammy bar, because I barely use that, and it's just going to get in the way. And also, just all stock. And I did have the option to buy the one that was like 1,800 quid, the basic version of the Gibson 339. But then, right beside it on the shelf, on the wall at Guitar in the town was the what did they call it? A figured top. Can't remember the exact name of it, but I just fell in love with it instantly. I was like, that is the guitar that I feel like I've been building towards my entire bloody life. But the problem is, it was a lot of money, man. It was like $2,500. So I can't take that to like late night pub gigs because I don't want it to get dinged. But then again, at the same time, I don't even feel like I'll ever sell it. So who gives a fuck if it gets dinged? It's just that I want it to look, I feel like, and maybe you guys could, you probably disagree with me on, like some of you might disagree, but I feel like Gibsons usually look better when they're pristine, whereas Fenders usually look better when they're a bit worn, you know, when they've got natural wear on them. You know, there's been a few guitars I've owned, like the Fenders and that, where I've actually fucked them up myself, like, what's it called? Relicked them. I regret that, if I'm totally honest. I regret that because I know it's a totally trendy thing that people do to the guitars, but it was never like a brand new one. Like the Telecaster I was just talking about, the red one, that's been road worn. It's got a couple of dings in it, but it's just because it's been used so much. You know, that was my main guitar for like 5 or 6 years. That between that and the red Strat, which I call Big Red. Not because it's any bigger than any other Strat, it just sounds bigger. It's got a custom Ian Nicol put in. Ian Nichols, the guitar tech in Glasgow at CC Music at Otago Street, and if you give him any guitar, he'll be able to put custom wound pickups in it. Well, I mean, I think he basically just does single coils, but he'd probably be able to do your humbuckers as well. So that was that. So what else we got here? Yeah, the other guitar that I was using at the recording sessions was my 2004. Is it 2004 or 7? Pretty sure it's the 4. It's the early one. A Fender Highway 1 in red. So this isn't Big Red. This is a replica of that I wanted. It's got the smaller headstock, but I put noiseless pickups in it, and it's so versatile because the noiseless pickups, through no fault of their own, they just sound a bit beefier and less jangly than the original kind of Texas Special style ones that are in the original. So I like using the noiseless ones when there's a chance that, you know, buzzing might be an issue. Like at the Howlin' Wolf we play on Thursday nights, the ceiling is covered in bulbs, like old school light bulbs, and that seems to affect the guitar tone. So I tend to take the noiseless one. To be fair, it only cuts it down by about 50%, maybe not even that, but it's just a safer bet. And especially when I'm going to the studio, I like to take a guitar that's definitely going to get the job done, and there's no fucking about going on, and I don't have to start using, you know, noise suppressor pedals, and because that just kills your tone instantly. You know, well, it doesn't kill your main tone, but what it does is it'll, like a noise suppressor will cut off the end of your long notes if you're playing a solo. I'm sure there's probably a way to minimize that. In fact, you know, I think the way that I set my noise suppressor usually does minimize it, but it still doesn't sound as natural. Like if you go into a studio, you want it to sound as pristine as possible. So that's the 3 guitars that I had with me. I had my 339, the Highway 1 with the noiseless pickups, and the Squire Telly Deluxe. And I tell you what, I can't wait for you to hear it. Like I just told you the 5 songs we did, and it was such an easy shift as well, because Roddy McElraith, who was the engineer, well, producer I should say, his workflow is so rapid. Like we don't like fucking about in the studio because we're old hands at this now, you know. Been in many studios over the 15 years that the 3 Card Trick's been together, and all of us have been in many studios before that. With other bands that we were in. So we know what the script is, we know what the order of the day is. But Roddy had us playing live all together. So Gibby was in the live room playing his kit, and me and Dean were in the control room, which is the room with the desk, you know, and the monitors and everything. And my amps were going through a guitar cab in a room to the back of the control room, right? So my guitar amps were in the room that we were playing in, so we could still make adjustments. You know, that's the best way to do it, I think. You don't want to have to be jumping back and forward to the room to make adjustments to the amp. So you want the amp in the room that you're actually playing in. And the downside of that sometimes can be that you can't really hear the true nature of what's coming out of the guitar cab. But because we had the extension cables and we had headphones on, the top quality headphones, and Roddy's got these things it's got like mini mixers, so you can all actually have your own mix. So Dean's on one side of the control room, Roddy's in the middle, and I'm on the other side, and we're all wearing headphones. Gibby's got his headphones on in the live room, and we've got this little mixing thing here. I'm sure some of you guys will probably know what I'm talking about. You know, you probably, you know, old hands at this, but it was just nice to have your own mix. So I don't need too much of the drums or the bass. I just want to hear what I'm recording, and a little bit. We were playing to a click, but I don't think we really needed it. The click was really just there for the intros and that, and any gaps between the drums, so that when we went back to do overdubs, the click was going to be there. But it was really smooth workflow. So really enjoyed that day. That was Wednesday and Thursday, and then we had Box on Wednesday night. We played Box live on Wednesday night, and it was one of them ones, man, where that first hour I was just like, oh man, we are totally old hat now. Like, it wasn't very busy, because we always do like 11 till 2. It's not usually this quiet, but from 11 till 12, it was just like nobody was responding. It was maybe like half full, and I was like, oh shit, maybe our time here is over. And then we took our first break at 4:45, or about midnight. And then when we came back on, it was absolutely mobbed. And I mean mobbed with, I was going to say kids there, but they're like 20-year-olds, maybe 18 to 23-year-olds. And they were all asking for like The Who, The Beatles, The Stones, AC/DC, Led Zeppelin, Jimi Hendrix. There was one guy even asked for Stevie Ray Vaughan. I was like, dude, you're fucking 20. What business do you have? Like knowing these legendary artists? And I was just like, well, that's cool parenting, So yeah, and really enjoyed the rest of the gig. We played, the third set was like Limp Bizkit, Linkin Park, and I wasn't meaning to belittle, the guys, the younger folk that are at, and girls. There was guys and girls there, and everything in between, days and whatever. And they were just all asking for like really like the music from not even my generation, but like our dad's generation. So it's good to know that music's still alive, and I really should have more faith in in that generation, because to be fair, when those guys come in to see us at Box, they very rarely ask for stuff that we don't know. They might ask for like stuff like like Billie Eilish and stuff like that. And when we do play that kind of stuff, obviously it sounds nothing like Billie Eilish, because we're a three-piece like rock band. But they do appreciate the fact that we give it a bash, and it's never going to be shit from us. But it just doesn't sound like the original. But they still enjoy it, and that's crazy to me, So what else did we do? Thursday night was Wolf, and that was absolutely mobbed as well. Just been a strange week. I think maybe people are just getting back to it after the Christmas party season, and then January was dead. Well, it wasn't. It wasn't dead. It was just hit or miss. Some of the gigs were better than others, but now we're really getting back into it now, and I love it. I still love it. I love being surprised by an audience. You know what I mean? And especially the younger age group, the younger generation, coming in and still requesting all this old classic rock stuff. It's like, well, there's life in the old dogs yet. You know what I mean? Anyway, what else did I want to talk about this week? Oh yeah, van shit. So I've got a Transit. I've got a 2016 Ford Transit, and it's just been a bit of hassle recently. Like since the beginning of December, it's been in the shop 3 times. The first time was something to do with the fuel system, so that needed done kind of urgently. Although it never broke down on us, it didn't break down at all, and there's absolutely no rust on it. There might be a little bit of surface rust on the undercarriage. Undercarriage. I'm 41. There's probably some rust in my undercarriage as well. So the Transit needed at the beginning of December some fuel issue, so that got sorted. And then the next thing with an ABS problem, so I took it in as a point of emergency for that, which turns out it wasn't an emergency, and it was just a sensor issue. Although it cost me an arm and a leg to get that sorted. And then, like a couple of weeks ago, what the fuck was wrong with it then? It was, God. No, it was the ABS. And then a couple of weeks ago, it was the, it was an oil leak. Right, so we had an oil leak. And It was only leaking for like a day. Luckily, it wasn't over any kind of long distance wedding gigs or anything like that. But when I took it in, the guy was like, so he fixed it and that, right? And I started asking him about new vans, and I was like, what about this new wet belt stuff on transits and that? And he starts telling me all about wet belt systems and that. And he's like, why are you asking me about this anyway? And I was like, well, clearly I need to get a new van. And he just went, why? And I was like, because this has been in here 3 times since the beginning of December. It's been stressful having to hire a van and, having to like find other ways to get to gigs, and especially the fact trying to get into town, with the whole LEZ thing, it needs to be, you can't just hire any vehicle, or like you use any car to get in, because Gibby's car's not like LEZ compliant, and we can't fit all the gear in Dean's car. So it's been a bit stressful, but he was like, why do you want to buy a new van? I was like, well, just because of the issues that we've had. He goes, this is the last of the good transits, So I wouldn't worry about, you've got this sorted, you've got that sorted. The more things you get sorted, the less things are going to be an issue. And I was like, well, you've been doing it, you know better about vans than I do. So I guess I'm going to keep it for a bit. It's done 147,000 miles. And it's got its quirks. It's got its quirks in that. But, by and large, it's bloody solid. So I think I'm going to keep it. Because I was looking at the new transits, right? But again, they're like wet belt, which means, what happens is the belt's inside the... Did I talk about this last week, actually, on the podcast? The belt's inside the engine. So what happens is, if you don't keep the oil fresh, it starts to corrode with all the carbon that's going on and flying about inside the engine. And because the belt's in there, it corrodes the belt, and then bits of the belt start flying off, and then it gets clogged up. So I was like, I can't be arsed fucking dealing with that on the way to long distance gigs. But, and plus a new Transit's 40, I did talk about this last week, I just realised that. So I've been looking at Nissans, and I've been looking at various other things. But then, like I said, when I got hours back from the garage, which is Big Andy's vehicle service centre in Kirkintilloch. Lovely guy. He was just like, well, I wouldn't bother. He said, this van's solid. He said, especially if you're going to sell it, I might think about buying it, or at least I'll be able to find somebody who would want it. And I was like, well, you're a mechanic, and you still think it's worth, running it for a few years, or a couple of years, maybe even just a year. I thought, I don't think I would want to do more than 200,000 in it. Even though it had the new engine at 100,000, I don't think I would want to run it for longer than that. But there's no point in buying a new van if I don't need to. The good thing is, I got my dad's inheritance money through recently, so that's a little bit personal. Actually, I probably shouldn't have brought that up. But the main thing is, in an emergency, the money's there to buy something, so it's fine. So that's the van situation. So this week, if you want to come and see us live this week, we're at Stramash tonight from midnight. That's Wednesday. And that's Wednesday the 12th of February from midnight. Oh, midnight, I should say. And then Thursday the 13th, we're at Howling Wolf, Glasgow, doing our 5-piece blues, rock, soul gig. Friday we're off because we're not playing at Slouch anymore. Well, at least for the time being. Well, that's a different story altogether. I'm not going to get into that. Point of contention. But anyway, this Sunday, me and Gibby will be playing with Charlotte Marshall at the Wolf Blues Jam. So if you want to get up and play with us, you don't even need to bring a guitar, because I'll bring all the gear, and you don't need to bring anything really if you want to jam with us. So you just come down at about 9 o'clock, sign up. Charlotte will sort you out. So it'll be me, Gibby, Charlotte, Archie on the keyboards, and I think Gav McCrory is joining us on lead guitar as well. So he'll have spare shit. So it's going to be 2 guitars, a kit, mics, a keyboard. Just get up and jam with us. Please don't sing Proud Mary or Superstition, because we. Just fucking sick of them, man. But having said that, please pick something that we might remotely know. So I guess I shouldn't really get on my high horse about that, People come in and go, can you play, Can you play? I'm trying to think of something obscure but believable. You know, like you Wait and Bleed. Come to a blues jam and go, can you play Wait and Bleed by Slipknot? And I'll sing it. And I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. We probably could actually do a basic version of it if you wanted to do that. But okay, guys, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. I'm pretty sure I didn't have anything else to talk about today. What was that? Oh, yeah, I wanted to talk about other bands' new music because Douglas Jagger and his band Face the Silence have got a brand new set of tunes up on Spotify just now. Face the Silence. My favourite one is Another Day in Paradise. That was the first one they put out. But he does have a couple of newer ones. One's called Glitch, which is an absolute banger as well. And they're all really well produced. You know, these guys aren't fucking about because they sound like Nickelback, Papa Roach, you know, that really high production quality new metal thing. And Doug's a great singer, so you can't really go wrong with that. But everything else, all the other jigsaw pieces need to be in the right place. And then I'll tell you what they are. It really put the pressure on me and Gibby to do, because our last album, Rogue Biology, we didn't even go to a studio to do it because it was recorded over the course of the last, like, basically 5 or 6 years. I even put out 2 albums in the meantime of just like self-produced acoustic stuff. Like, well, we had Last Man Standing was on When Autumn Comes, and then the one after that was the one with Lighthouse Keeper and Nobody's Coming to Save Us. The album was called Under the Pale Moonlight. But yeah, that's pretty much all I've got to tell you this week, guys. Thank you very much for checking out the podcast. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and do share it on Facebook. And I want to kind of keep this a weekly thing, just so I can keep in touch with you and let you know what I'm up to and what gear I've been buying and all the stress that goes with being in a full-time covers band, really, and not just the covers things, but the original music as well. There's a lot to talk about. Oh, I found a new website recently. There's a couple of new music suppliers who are like offering, like, you can have like bespoke single vinyl pressings. And my whole life I wanted to get just one album on vinyl. And I think it's going to be Rogue Biology, because there's a new website that it's expensive, so I would send them our mixes. And then if you were to order a vinyl version of the album with all the artwork and everything, I think it would probably just be a front and back thing, and you get the inner sleeve and that, but it'd probably just be plain white. And you get the image on the actual vinyl itself. And it is pricey. It's like 35 or 40 quid. But I've paid that for some, especially for smaller or lesser known acts. I did the same with Brothers Osborne. I was getting into them. Kenny Wayne Shepherd. I know he's absolutely huge, by and large, but he's not like a pop artist. He doesn't need. There's some of them that don't need the money. Like I've obviously bought The Colour and the Shape and Enema of the State, What's the Story, Morning Glory, Stereophonics. But I still like to get some lesser known acts vinyls as well, because it's good artwork as well. It's good for the collection. It's good artwork, so it's something you can put on the wall and enjoy. So, and the other thing about Rogue Biology is it's got my favourite album cover, and I think it really fits the music as well. It was Gavin, who's the guitar player in the Wolf Band, which is Three Card Trick. He is a photographer as well, so he just goes about Glasgow taking pictures of scenery and whatever, and buildings and that he likes. And the picture that's on the front of Rogue Biology, which I've been asked about a couple of times, what is that? It's the escalators at Queen Street Station in Glasgow. But it was taken during lockdown. So it was like a 28 days later thing, where a place that would normally be absolutely mobbed, there was only like 3 people in the picture. And I just thought it was a little bit freaky to see a place like that being dead, which is normally mobbed. So thanks very much to Gav for donating that picture. I did ask to pay for it, but he wouldn't have it. He was just like that. No, that's cool. So Yeah, so that's the picture that's on the front of Rogue Biology. And what's going to be on the back of it is a similar thing of one of the streets in the centre of Glasgow, and it's looking down towards the Clyde. And again, it's a street that's normally, got loads of cars in it, buses, taxis, people walking about. But no, it's just absolutely dead. So that's going to be the back cover if I get the vinyls made up. Let me know in the comments if you want me to do the vinyls thing, guys, because I'm not going to waste my time, sending the tunes in and getting all this artwork arranged if there's no demand for it. But at the same time, it's, it costs me the time, but it doesn't cost me the money, because it's not like I have to buy the stock. You know what I mean? If I just sit and it's like they'll just print it to order. So maybe I should just do it anyway. And it'd be nice just to do it just so that I've got a copy, and maybe my mum's got a copy. She doesn't even have a vinyl player, but maybe Dean and Gibby would want one as well. Maybe the guys in the band. And that's another thing about this record. We didn't really have anybody else playing on it. I think that's the first time in a while that I haven't had anybody else guesting on it. So Rogue Biology is literally just me, Gibby, and Dean. Is it? Pretty sure it is. So anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for checking out the podcast today, guys. My name's Gary, MexiGary, and I will catch up with y'all same time next week. I'm really trying to put these things out on Mondays, but sometimes the mood doesn't take me, or I'm knackered, or I just feel like I can't be arsed talking at that point. So it'll be either Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. Every week, though. It's going to be every week. So, and it'll be about half an hour. This one's been about 37 minutes. But yeah, thanks for checking it out, and I'll catch up with you soon. Love you. Bye.